planets didn't quite align for the launch of Elite Dangerous Odyssey, and whilst the game still has a long way to go, Frontier have been making some progress. Looking towards the future, it appears as though Frontier might finally be treating Elite as a live service game going forward. Today, we are 7 updates after the Odyssey launch. 2 further updates have been announced, with Update 8 focusing on megaship interiors and Update 9 focusing on fleet carrier interiors and a new SRV. It seems very likely then that this may be the trend that Frontier continue to follow, a new update every 4 to 6 weeks. If that is the case, then what could updates 10, 11 and beyond bring? Here's a few ideas I want to put out there. Keep in mind that these are entirely suggestions and that Frontier haven't confirmed or even hinted at anything like this. Bottom line, these are a few things that I would like to see and I feel would improve Odyssey dramatically. Planetary settlements were perhaps one of the most significant new features added to Elite with the Odyssey update. So in this video I feel it makes sense to focus almost exclusively on those bases. Now, I think it's fair to say that the settlements themselves has some fantastic designs. Not only are their layouts interesting, but so too is the sheer number of different buildings and rooms, all of which are fully accessible. Add to this some significant variations between economy types such as botanical, industrial, military and much more, and you have a recipe for something very nice indeed. Unfortunately, it seems that Frontier missed the boat here and have neither taken full advantage of the gameplay opportunities that planetary settlements can offer, nor have they fully connected them into the wider world in terms of game loops. So, let's take a look at a few potential options here. With so many different settlements dotted around, making better use of them would integrate them into the wider galaxy as an active part of the game world. Currently, the vast majority of missions at these locations have a heavy combat focus, but personally, I believe they deserve a far wider range of uses. The botanical settlements, for example, have these amazing interiors. Merely walking around these gives an instant impression of what the focus here is. Now, I feel these areas could easily be connected into the plant scanning side of things of the game. There are a whole load of plants out there after all to discover and scan. Originally, Frontier added an ill-conceived minigame to the scanning process itself, which was later removed. However, the idea of a minigame itself or a puzzle certainly isn't a bad one. So here's one way that plant scanning could be expanded. First, scan the plants. Second, bring the data to a botany settlement. Third, using the computers and lab equipment in these very rooms, process the data. This could perhaps occur in the form of a minigame or a puzzle. Fourth, players could then either directly earn rep with the base here as well as credits, or perhaps, depending on how Frontier wanted to approach this, take the data, the processed data, to Vista GENOMICS on a space station. The results of all this is that it brings a direction to the plant scanning and gives a wider purpose to these botany bases. Sure, due to the background simulation, the nature of these settlements is always changing, but that's why the game has spaceships. Players can simply seek out other usable locations. Ultimately then, I feel that integrating broader gameplay directly into the settlements would add a lot of life and replayability to these locations. Settlements exist in various sizes and also within various distances of each other. It seems like a missed opportunity then to not have delivery missions between bases. What's more, seeing as these locations are actually on a planetary surface, why not make better use of the SRVs or low-level flight? To make use of this, an NPC working for the settlement could hire the player to transport an object or an item. Ensuring the mission comes directly from the NPC would add life to the game world and also help the player bond with the settlements. Now, a small piece of mission text, just basically flavour here, will explain why the item needs to be taken via an SRV or alternatively in a ship below orbital flight. This then makes an improved use of the SRV as well as planetary flying, and it also ties settlements into the wider game world. Odyssey introduced a variety of new locations and points of interest within which players can make discoveries. Sometimes this comes in the form of SRVs, and other times in the form of smaller resource caches. There are many other things out there as well. The mechanics already exist within the game to track down and locate these places. Now, as players have access to the planetary settlements, it would be great to head into the command center and a high-level NPC make a request for a lost or abandoned object, and then get the player to go and retrieve these. As with other aspects already mentioned, this doesn't necessarily add anything massively new into the game. What it does do, however, is link existing elements together. The settlements are currently underutilized, and having NPCs give missions out in this manner would be very useful. Whilst Frontier have mentioned that NPC contacts will be available at surface settlements in the future, it's currently unclear exactly what this means. Object tracking and retrieval then is just one example of many other mission types that could be used here. You will have noticed that I've made suggestions for relatively simple mission types. Delivery missions, data scanning, object retrieval, that type of thing. I've deliberately done this to highlight that in general, it's not really the current missions or assets within Odyssey that are a problem, but rather the way Frontier have failed to effectively link all of these things together. Putting the players on foot gives them access to an entirely different aspect of the game, and being face to face with the game world means that it needs to be very much alive, something that currently at the moment is lacking, well, quite a bit. Connecting game elements together then has a wonderful way of achieving this. Here's a few other examples. Taking a passenger mission from one settlement to another. This would be a physical NPC that you could interact with. With the upcoming two-seater SRV, it could even be possible to transport the person in your ground vehicle. Smuggling is also an option. What if one of the NPCs at a settlement likes a particular rare good? Maybe that item is illegal on the planet. Your mission would be to head to a space station for that particular rare good and bring it back to the NPC, whilst avoiding the settlement's security guards and their scans. Delivery missions from stations to settlements, surface mapping projects, ground sampling or mining are all other examples of things that would work and add much needed depth to Odyssey. Now, I did consider going into detail on each of these suggestions, but I think I've already conveyed the idea with enough clarity. And that idea I feel is pretty straightforward, although not necessarily easy for Frontier to implement. It would mean using settlements for the purpose that they seem to convey. Botanical stations for botanical focused missions. Industrial missions for, industrial purposes, maybe bigger deliveries there. The same could hold true for all the other types of settlements, whether they're military, scientific, or whatever else. So yes, I do fully realise that game development takes a lot of time, and that some of these suggestions, whilst seeming easy to suggest, are probably not very easy to implement at all. But the overall concept here, whether it's examples of such as the ones I've suggested here, or something else entirely, the bottom line is the concept of just linking things together, making the settlements fully integrated with the rest of the game world, and the settlements are very good after all, so not doing that simply seems a great waste. If you have any suggestions on what you'd like to see, or any thoughts on the suggestions I've already made, do let me know in the comments section below. I'd love to hear from you. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.